I mentioned that water is an inorganic molecule, and now we want to spend a few minutes reminding you what organic molecules are. Organic molecules have carbon skeletons, and so you can see in all three of these diagrams here, these are three different kinds of alcohol. All of them have carbon. We refer to this as the carbon backbone of the molecule. Not all molecules with carbon backbones are part of living things, but certainly living things are comprised of many important molecules with carbon backbones. And so whenever we study biology, we need to have a sort of fundamental understanding of organic chemistry. Now, in the carbon skeleton, what makes a molecule, what gives it its unique properties are the functional groups. So for example, each of these is an alcohol because it has this OH group. And so there you can see there are clearly three different molecules. Isopropanol is rubbing alcohol, ethanol is the alcohol in booze, and methanol is wood alcohol. This actually will cause blindness if you drink methanol. So all of these are alcohols, and it's based on this OH, which is called a functional group. Oops, I went too far. All right, so here's a little diagram showing you functional groups. This is an amino acid. So here's our carbon, and this is a functional group. This is that carboxylic acid group, and this is an amino group here. And this is our carbon backbone, and we'll talk a little bit more about amino acids in a little bit. So this table has a whole bunch of the major functional groups and where you find them in biological systems. So I already mentioned alcohols. They're found in lipids and carbohydrates. This is an aldehyde. You see these in reducing sugars such as glucose and other polysaccharides. Ketones are really important parts of metabolic intermediates. Methyl groups are really important in DNA. We think that actually cells will methylate their DNA in order to shut down genes. Pretty interesting. You see them in energy metabolism. Amino groups we see in proteins. This is an ester, and we see this in bacterial and eukaryotic plasma membranes. And then in archaeal plasma membranes, remember the archaea, they have these ether groups are often found. Sulfhydryl groups are found in proteins, and you also see them occasionally in energy metabolism. Carboxyl groups, organic acids, lipids, and then of course our amino acids are proteins. And then phosphate groups are really important in nucleic acids as well as the energy molecule ATP. So when we think about organic molecules, we think about molecules with carbon, and then we also look to see what kind of functional group might be associated with that molecule to understand what that molecule, how it participates in a biological system. Here are three organic molecules. You can tell all of these are organic because they each contain carbon. That's the black balls, and in this one it's gray. Here it's black again. And then the hydrogens are a light gray, these little guys sticking out, and then the oxygens are red in every case. So what I want you to notice is that all three of these molecules all contain the same three atoms. They contain oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen, and that's it. But they're really different, right? So glucose, if you had a spaghetti dinner and you really enjoyed your dinner, your body would break down the starch into glucose, and then you might wash that spaghetti dinner down with a little beer, right? You got ethanol in the beer. And then maybe you have a little too much of the ethanol, and then the next morning you take a little ibuprofen for your headache. These all have really different functions, even though they're composed of the same three elements: oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen in this case. All right, what about biological molecules? Well, biological molecules are typically small organic molecules, and oftentimes they can be combined into large macromolecules. So macro meaning large. And we can use some chemistry terms to think about these large biological macromolecules, because the term we use in chemistry is polymers. And you have many repeating molecules that get hooked together. The small repeating molecules are called monomers, and then the large molecule they make is a polymer. So you might think of polyester, right? Which is a plastic. Well, it's just many ester molecules hooked together. That's where that name comes from. And biological molecules, in many cases, are also polymers of smaller monomers, and the monomers repeat and form a large polymer. All right, so next we're going to be talking about carbohydrates, and then we'll be talking about lipids and also proteins in this lecture set. So our next topic is carbohydrates.